Our next job is to figure out how to assign a category to every post. That way, in the future, we can filter all posts according to their category. Maybe I'm only interested in your family-specific blog posts, or your work posts, or your hobby-specific posts. I'll show you how to do that in this lesson. It sounds like we need a general categories table. Or in other words, one table to represent our posts, and then another table to represent the available categories. Let's do that now. PHP Artisan, and this time I'm going to show you a slightly different way. Normally, you would create your migration like this, create categories table, and then I'll hit Control-C. You would also create a model, PHP Artisan make model. However, we can join these. Have a look. If I run help on make model, there are some options here. If I add -m, it will also create a corresponding migration to go along with that model. And there's also -c to create a controller. We haven't even looked at controllers yet, but we'll do it soon. And then -f to create a factory for the model, which again, we haven't looked at yet. For now, let's stick with a migration. PHP Artisan make model for category, and then -m to also include the migration. And this is, by the way, how I would personally do it. So now we have, let's switch back. We should have in your app directory a new category model, and then of course in your database directory, a new create categories table migration. Okay, let's keep it pretty simple. What do we need for a category? Well, of course, a category has a name. And we potentially might even want a corresponding slug to go along with the category. You might want to do that if the name of the category wouldn't quite be the same as the slug. But while we're here, think about it. A post needs to be associated with the category. So every time, let's go to Table Plus, every time you create a new post, you need some way to associate this post with the current category. Okay, so we can do that with standard foreign keys. We'll need to represent that first. So I will go back to my post model, and let's declare it up here. Table, and we could use foreign ID or foreign ID4, but let's stick with this one. Foreign ID, and we'll call it category ID. And that should make sense. We need to track the ID of the corresponding category for this post. Okay, let's refresh my database. PHP Artisan, migrate fresh. All right, so now give it a refresh. We have a post table and a new categories table. Now, we could manually create a new category, but why don't we play around with our new Eloquent model? PHP Artisan Tinker. Let's use app models category. And let's create our new category. Maybe this one will be personal. The slug will just be the slug version of it. And I think that's enough. So we'll save it. All right, let's do a total of 3. Make a new category. We need one for work. And we'll save that. And then finally a third for, what was it, hobby? Name is hobby or hobbies, maybe. And save it. Okay, so now in my database, we have 3 new records. Now we'll create some fresh posts to go along with that. We will use the post. And then you've already seen this many times, so I will skip ahead. Like so. So have a look. We're creating a post. We've set our guarded property to an empty array, which means we can mass assign only the keys that we are in charge of, as you learned about a couple episodes ago. We give it a title, an excerpt, a body, the slug, and now this new category ID. This creates the relationship. We're saying the brand new post is going to be associated with the category that has an ID of 1, personal in this case. All right, so we give it a run, and we're up and running. If I come back to my post table, give it a refresh, and there it is. You have your new post that points to a specific category. So think about it. Now, using standard SQL, you could say, select star from posts where the category ID is 1. And now this will filter all your posts according to only those that are personal or family related. All right, let's do 2 more. Here's one for a work post that I've pasted in with a category ID of 2. And then one more. And here's a hobby post, which has a category ID of 3 for hobby. All right, let's give it a shot. So here's your personal posts, here's your work posts, and here's your hobby posts. Now though, wouldn't it be cool, let's bring up PHP Artisan Tinker, wouldn't it be cool if I could say, okay, let's find a post, here it is, but what category is associated with that post? It would be nice if I could say post category, and that would bring up the associated category instance. And of course we can. This is referred to as Eloquent relationships. Let's give it a shot. I'm going to return to my post model, and I want a new relationship. It looks like we called it category, so let's create a method called category. Now, Laravel offers a handful of relationship types, and some of these are has one, has many, belongs to many. You'll learn about all of these. But for now, let's think about which one makes the most sense here. In your head, think, what is the relationship between a post and a category? Does a post have many categories? Well, maybe for your blog that could be the case, but not in ours. It looks like a post is associated with exactly one category. So with that in mind, it sounds like the belongs to relationship makes sense. Does a post belong to a category? Is that true? Yes. So that's the one we want. We can make it nice and clear by returning a call to that relationship. Belongs to, and then you provide the associated model, in this case, category. And that is your first Eloquent relationship. Now, there is one key thing to understand here, and I'll show you. If I bring this back, we track down the post, there it is. I'm not going to call it as a method. Notice if we do, that's going to bring back a belongs to instance, and you'll learn about when to reach for that later. But notice if I instead access it as a property, behind the scenes, Laravel uses magic accessors to figure out, okay, you're probably trying to load the corresponding category for this post. And notice we get it. Which means if I have a look at posts now, we have the details for a post and then also the details for the corresponding category. How cool is that? So if you ever want to grab the name of the category for the post, you can do this. So let's represent that in our view. We'll go to posts, and then maybe right below that, we will spit out a link that'll go somewhere. We'll have a look at that in a future episode, but then we want the name of the category. So I can say post category name. Now, I will warn you, we've inadvertently introduced a problem. It's known as the N+1 problem, but we'll have a look at that shortly. So just bear with me if you've already spotted it. I give it a refresh, and now every post has a corresponding category. So to finish up, let's copy this and also place it within the single post view. And by the way, we're not too worried about formatting. We will set up a nice layout in a future chapter. So stay tuned for that. So in the next episode, we'll do the reverse. We'll create a category page that displays all posts associated with that particular category.